In today's video, my SURRON ULTRA BE HP gets a fresh set of Supermoto wheels and tires. This bike has always been set up for dirt, with the TORP controller making 28 kilowatts on the stock bypass battery and motor perfect for that. However, I just got the opportunity to get a new dirt monster for our MX track that I will be showing you guys soon. And this might be my new track bike for a while. Tell me down in the comments below what bike you think it is. These new wheels and tires should give the bike great grip for all my torque and speed testing later when I mod the battery and motor for 58 kilowatts. The rear is a Mitas 130/70/17 and the front is a 180/17. The wheels are KKE 17-inch Supermoto, 3.5-inch wide rear, and a 2.5-inch wide in the front. This thing looks insane. And we can start by getting this front wheel off, and I'll use my 8mm hex T-wrench to get this axle bolt off on this side. Get some of this dirt off first. Iso alcohol is really good for cleaning these. We use it a lot in the computer industry to clean like main boards and stuff and electronics. Get it nice and clean so I can put some rim tape around here. And that will protect the tube from these spoke nuts. Nice, that's really going to protect the tube. And I use plastic bag and some baby powder and make sure the valve stem cap is on the tube with some powder. And I want to take this outside because I don't want to breathe this. I think that should do it, man. You don't want to have too much powder on the tube. Just enough so it's not sticky on the rubber on the tire. I can put this tire on the rim now, but before I do that, I want to talk about some things on the tire. Now you see these yellow dots here? Some manufacturers will have this. I noticed the larger motorcycle tires, most of them have it. This is where the lightest spot on the tire is, and that helps you with when you're positioning the valve stem and the tire, that's going to be your heaviest point. You usually want to align it with this, so you end up using less wheel weights when you go to balance the wheel. And also the tire direction, while it may seem a bit weird, that it looks like it's going in reverse because these are directional tires. The rotation is this way. But if you look at the tread, you would think it would be the other way. But actually, the way that a lot of motorcycle manufacturers do it is the front and rear tire will be reversed. And apparently it gives the bike a lot less vibrations at high speeds and more stability. So I'm gonna stick with that and follow the rotation on the tire. I'll just put some tire bead lube on. And this one's really good, it's Nomar. It's probably the best one I've ever used. I highly recommend it. And also you don't want to put the tire grease here or else you might get some sliding on the rim. You really want to just put it on the inside of the bead. So since the brake rotor is on the left side, the wheel is going to be rotating this way. Should just slide on here pretty easily. I think that's enough. Having that powder on lets me move the tube around. And then I will put this valve stem nut about halfway on just so it can't slip back into the rim. I'm going to take this over to the bench to get this final bead on. Okay, now let's double check that yellow spot on the tire. We want to make sure that this is lined up with our valve stem. So I'm going to gently just slide the tire over. When you use the powder, you can actually do that. And I just want to make sure that this yellow dot is where this valve stem is. And it will make it a lot easier when I go to balance it. Okay, let's flip this back. Okay, that's about as far as I can get. It'll keep the tire down on the bead, so then I can go around with the rest of this and get this on. Just need to be careful not to pinch the tube. Try to keep it right on the edge of the tire. With the bead buddy, I can actually lock it on right there. It won't creep off past my bead buddy, which makes this a lot easier. And if you don't want to trash your rims, every time you change your tires, definitely use these rim guards. That's it. It's on. Now let's check it and make sure I'm not pinching the tube anywhere, or it's going to cause me problems after. But this looks good. When I inflate this inner tube, this will pop out and then I can crank that down. Right now I'm not going to do it because it could drag on the rim and maybe chafe the valve stem. Well, let's see if we can get the bead to pop. Sometimes it'll pop, sometimes it doesn't. I think that's good for now. Nice gummy tires. I want to clean this tire because remember the last time with the SURRON when I crashed in the parking garage? Yeah. Because I had the oil on the tire from when I installed it. Something that a lot of rookie motorcycle guys make. I seen one guy drive out of the dealership once. Honda dealership. First turn, slam. Because the tires were brand new. They have like an oil on them when you get new tires on a bike. You either want to break them in slow or I will go around with some stronger ISO. Just make sure that there's no oil or the tire lube all over the tire. Maybe it gets onto this surface and it'll make you fall. Put the wheel spacers in. Do you hear this, man? There's a Taekwondo place next door. So my guess is the heavy spot's gonna be right around here where the valve stem is. It's always like that. Yeah, it's kind of just off. So about right here. Try one more time. Yep, that's the heavy spot. Damn, this thing's in balance. I can see that this is going to be really tight with these SIRRIS guards, pretty much right on the tire. There's just a tiny little bit, so I was thinking maybe I could notch it. Right there. Okay, so now that I've installed the front wheel, I've checked the fit. I know I don't have any clearance issues with the brake rotor or the forks. I'm gonna do the final install on this wheel. I highly recommend to test fit it first just to make sure there's no issues before you do your final install. Now, before I do that, I'm gonna reinstall this traction control ring. What these do is they can help the controller with functions like brake regen, ABS, some torque and RPM functions. And if you wanna retain your traction control with aftermarket wheels, you just need to replace these on the new wheels. As long as they're the same size as the wheels that you're replacing, this will actually work. That being said, I really don't like the traction control on the Ultra Bee. I think it takes a lot of the fun out of the bike, so I'd leave it off. Put a little bit of Loctite, not too much. And of course, always remember to tighten the bolts down in an opposing fashion. You always wanna tighten everything down evenly. 10 Nm on these, but I'm gonna give them 12 because brake rotor bolts like to come loose. Line up the rotor. Get that to pop underneath the wheel. There we go. I'll put a tiny bit of thread locker on the axle, not too much, but just a little bit. The torque setting is really high on this axle nut at 60 Nm, so that setting alone should keep it pretty well fastened. Now that I have this axle nut torqued all the way down, I can go back and loosen up the pinch bolts on the opposite side
get the axle to float freely again in the forks. Then I will compression cycle it a few times. Then I'll do the final torque tighten down here, 10 Nm each pinch bolt, and then go back on the other side, 10 Nm. But I will always start with the brake side on the final torque down. And then the last thing to do is to reinstall this sensor in the dropout. And the front wheel's done. Looks amazing. Drop the chain.
It's a lot easier to clean these when they're off the bike. Put a little bit of Loctite on. This factory Loctite is getting old. Going to use 12 Nm. You may want to double check your wheels and make sure there's no sharp edges sticking out on any of these spokes. I had a few, so just get them nice and smooth before I put the rim tape on because I don't want that poking through. Let's get the inside of this edge lubed up on the bead. And I'll just pop this edge down by hand. Like with the front wheel, this yellow spot marks the lightest spot on the tire. So I'm going to want to line that up directly with the valve stem. It's right about there. Let me get this on the ground, get a little more leverage. There we go. It's tube time. Wow, that's a big tube. This is a big wheel though, 3.5 inch. All right, I'm gonna leave all that closed up. Get this in the bag with some pow-pow. Let's get this outside. Let's put a little bit of air in this. Just enough to keep it up in the top of the tire. There we go. Now just put this nut on about halfway, just to keep it from falling back. Put a bunch of tire lube on this one. Start off just to the right of the valve stem. I'm gonna use that as my bead buddy. Otherwise the bead's gonna just constantly be coming off over and over again all the way around. Let's make sure I'm not pinching the tube anywhere. I think it's looking good, man. There it goes. If you ever get a bead that is stuck and won't pop, just underinflate the tire a little bit, spray some water down in there, wiggle it a little bit with the iron, and then try again, and usually it will pop. So this is good. I have it inflated to about 40 PSI. So before I can get this rear wheel on the bike, we need to get the sprocket on and then balance it. Let's torque these to 25 Nm. I switched back to the steel 46.2 sprocket because I have a new battery and motor coming for this bike, and we're gonna definitely see what the top speed is. So I think the 46.2 steel sprocket is the one to use. It's super strong and will give me the best top speed. Let's find the heaviest point of this wheel. My guess is right around here. That's it. I love these low profile wheel weights. It's got like that window sealer kind of tape. It's really sticky. I don't think these things are ever gonna come off. I've had those brass ones fly off, right? Yeah. Gotta be careful. think it's good, man. Nice. So this thing is solid. It's fully balanced now. I'm ready to put it on the bike. But first, I need to take a few links off the new chain. Black links, gold rollers. I need to get this thing down to 96 links. It's 110 now, so I need to cut 14 links. So up to here. I'll replace the sticky white lithium chain assembly grease with a better one later, but it's easiest to do when the chain is new and off the bike. All right, let me just get this nut on here for now, just loose. I need to do some test fitting first, make sure that this can actually work. So on the rotor side, we're good. Nothing's rubbing, spokes aren't hitting. It's looking sick. I just need to stretch this chain, see if it fits. Let's get this chain tightened up. The rear axle torque spec is 140 Nm. It's crazy high, but that's what it says in the manual, so that's what we're going to torque it to. Looks great, right? Dude, this 130 tire fits perfect too. There's still about a 1/2 inch chain clearance. I think maybe even a 140 could fit. This thing looks insane. I can't believe we finally put these wheels and tires on the bike. You know, I had these wheels and tires before we even got the bike. I want to go ride it so bad. Let's get the hell out of here. There's usually a bunch of cops over here. I got to be careful. He's doing the same thing I'm doing. I went through the TORP app and I changed the wheel diameter to the correct size for these 17 Supermotos because that's going to affect the speed reading a lot if that thing's not set right. Remember that. Usually I use miles per hour, but right now it's set to kilometers per hour because we were calibrating the speed with my camera guy's scooter earlier. Now I have everything completely maxed out on the controller as far as you can go with the stock battery. And I also have the field weakening max too. And that might trigger some kind of an overcurrent on the stock battery. We have to see. If that happens, I'll probably have to lower the field weakening, but I want to see what the max speed is, so we're gonna need that. It was climbing too. It still had more to go. Those cops. So what, about 110, maybe 112 if it wasn't for this construction over here? I mean, it was climbing slowly, but we need a longer road. I think that's around the max, man. About 112, 113, 114 kilometers an hour. I think that's pretty good. I mean, stock battery, stock motor, only TORP TC-100. Really smooth, really fun to ride. The bike is hyper smooth, man. Just don't even feel it. Really love it. These tires are sick. Once I install that TORP TM50 and that Chai battery, that's when we'll see the true high speed of this thing. I think I'll keep it in Supermoto form just like this until we're done modding it. Because we got that other bike that we got to work on now. We rode all over, came back at dark, And cool thing about this Ultra Bee is it has that headlight on it, right? I was actually able to use that. It's really fun to ride now. I think I'm gonna leave it like this for a while we work on that new bike. And we can get it on some of these smaller local roads. Then eventually I'll take it back to dirt for our MX track. I have some Dunlop MX53s that I wanna put on this later. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it Supermoto for a while because I got that new bike I'm gonna show you guys in a few weeks. And I wanna focus on the MX track riding with that bike because I think it's gonna really take my skill level up. So I think that's gonna do it for this Ultra Bee Supermoto wheels video. See you guys in the next one. Peace. Can't show you just yet.